the Connected Consumer Podcast.
Hi, my name is Rosie Alpino, and I'm one of the hosts for Parks Associates' new podcast, The Connected Consumer. This podcast is all about Parks Associates' data-driven market insights on emerging consumer technology products and services, featuring our talented analyst team and industry leaders bringing new and innovative products to the market. In this podcast, you'll get an inside look at the latest industry trends focused on the connected consumer, home automation and security, energy management, connected health and independent living, and digital content and video services. In our very first episode, we will take a trip down memory lane through the history and evolution of Parks Associates. This year, Parks Associates is celebrating its 35th year in business and its 25th year hosting Connections, which is our signature event focused on the connected home. Our guest today is Elizabeth Parks, president of Parks Associates. For almost 23 years, Elizabeth has supported the growth of Parks Associates research offerings, marketing services, and executive conferences. She constantly strives to help support the company's mission, which is to help companies navigate the changing consumer and business technology landscapes through data-driven market insights, extensive market intelligence, and best-of-class event experiences. Hey, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Rosie. I'm so happy to be here. And it is amazing that we're launching a podcast and love that we're starting out with some of the history of the company.
Yes, so excited to be hosting our very first episode and happy to chat with you today. Very exciting topic. Before we dive deep into the evolution of the company, I'd love to know more about your professional journey.
Well, great. As you noted, we are excited to celebrate our 35th year in business, and I will be celebrating my 23rd year with the company in August. You know, after graduating from UT Austin, I moved back home, started out at Parks Associates to get my feet wet in the business world and figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I have really loved working here from the start, given lots of opportunities to help shape and serve the technology industries. I've continued to work here, grow here professionally, and, help the company grow over time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are huge milestones to accomplish and something to be very, very proud of. So could you talk more about Park's position in the market and the value it brings to the industry?
Sure. So, over time, our research and events practice has really grown slowly, but we have kept a very specialized focus on the consumer and emerging technologies, and specifically looking at the intersection of different technologies in the home and the opportunities it provides. Trisha Parks, my mom, founded the company 35 years ago, and has very much focused in on developing research reports, primary studies, doing lots of custom work, strategic consulting, executive conferences, and really with the goal to help provide companies with the best data and insights for them to understand the growth and the purchase intentions, consumer sentiment about new and emerging technologies in the home.
Interesting. That's incredible. So can you share more about the purpose of this whole episode, which is how has Parks Associates evolved over the years, and how was research collected then in the very beginning versus how it's collected now?
Well, sure. And that's a great question. The world has changed in over 3 decades, and certainly the way we do research now is dramatically different from 30, 20, or even 15 years ago. Over decades, we've worked with thousands of companies to help understand where technology is taking the consumer experience at home. So we've always led with our consumer survey work. Back in the day, it was phone surveys, and over time we have evolved and now are surveying 10,000 broadband households each quarter. And these very extensive consumer surveys help us understand how consumers view new technology, their willingness to pay, what they value in technology. And so, we still are selling research reports and studies. Our product looks a little bit different than it did 30 years ago, but we are still very much all about the consumer experience and, understanding where that demand comes from.
And sticking to your core values, Parks has definitely maintained its place in the industry. And I can only imagine how the research has changed over so many decades. So, what was the initial focus of the research back then?
Trisha started out working before she started Parks Associates. She was a VP of research for another firm called Future Computing. And after that company was bought out by McGraw Hill, Trisha started Parks Associates out of her house. I was a kid, and her initial focus was really within the computing sector. So at that time, the PC, the personal computer, had just come out, and there was an emphasis in really understanding the diffusion of computing technologies in consumers' homes. So IBM wanted a computer in every house in the United States, and so Trisha was really tasked with understanding the adoption of the PC, and that is one of the very first places that she started with her research work.
Wow, that is amazing. I feel like technology definitely has changed the way we live and is continuously changing on a daily basis. So, Trisha definitely hit the nail on the head with her vision on that. So, could you share more about just the continued growth and any data that you have on connectivity?
Sure. Well, back then we were really looking at things like the home network, the residential gateway, and broadband services in the home. So, we know now from our data that consumers have an average of 13 connected devices in their home, and that is expected to increase to at least 20 connected devices in the home by 2025. Trisha grew Parks Associates slowly and independently, covering these core areas, the foundation of connectivity with broadband in the home network, and then adding expertise in new areas that this technology created new opportunities. So looking at things with utility deregulation and consumer choice, home controls, home security, looking at pay TV, broadband, and value added services. And really, as the technology has grown up, our research practice has grown with it. So now we're covering really 8 core verticals in our research work, and also looking at the distribution of products, understanding where consumers are buying products from, and also the role of new players in the industry. So the tech giants coming along, Google and Amazon have had a incredible impact in the last 5 years on the market. And so these are the kinds of areas that we have evolved into over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly the industry is going to continue growing and there are going to be new verticals and new topics and new things to cover in our research in Parks Associates research. So you not only cover these topics in your research services, but you also have events as part of the business. Tell us more about that.
So, bringing the industry together to share and network and learn from each other is really a critical part of Parks Associates business. We have always hosted executive conferences that are catering to the senior level team members who are introducing new technology products and solutions to the market. So these play a really important role. We're hosting 6 in-person events, and we now have 5 rolling virtual events across the year focused on connected health, the future of video, Smart Energy Summit, and of course our signature event, Connections, which is our 25th year to host it this year. We have a Connection Summit at CES. We have our standalone Connections event typically in San Francisco in May. And then right now we do have our Connections Europe event on pause. Hope to go back to Europe soon enough to address the impact on the European markets with the smart home space.
Well, and I heard CES is going to be in Las Vegas this year, or next year, actually. So I'm excited to attend. It would be my first time in Las Vegas, so I'm excited about that. So we're getting closer to the end of our episode here, our first episode. So I want to end it with, where is Parks Associates headed? What's happening next?
Well, sure. We have had our core focus really on the foundation of connectivity, the adoption of broadband, and the distribution and consumer demand for these new products. Throughout the years, the residential gateway, the home network have been at the center of the conversation for us, and they're going to continue to be there. New technologies are enabling these products and solutions to deliver new experiences for consumers. So the focus on partnerships, new relationships between ecosystem players, the relevant entrance of the tech giants, really just continuing to see when all of this technology is really going to move to mass market adoption, which is something we've been looking at and seeing in our site for a long time. Finally, we have got enough progress in the technology world. The price points have come down. Interoperability is, maybe being a solution coming there in the future. So it's truly an exciting time in the industry. We're going to continue delivering the best research, quality research and insights on these areas that we cover. And that's where our focus will be, in the same way it has always been, with the consumer at the heart of the conversation.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Elizabeth, thank you so much for sharing your insight and the incredible history of Parks Associates. Definitely an exciting time in the industry. And as we continue to evolve in the technology era, I'm excited to continue having you in our podcast episodes, hopefully in the future, and seeing where it develops and how it goes. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Rosie, for having me, and look forward to the launch of our podcast.
The Connected Consumer. The Connected Consumer Podcast.
Connected Consumers. Make sure to tune in to our next episode, where our co-host Chris White will have a conversation with research analyst Amanda Kong on the Zigbee Alliance and chip rebranding announcement.